welcome to the brand new episode of Real Estate Real Insights by Swati Procon. And this one is the special one because here we are diving deep into RERA. Since its inception in 2016, the kind of changes that the industry has seen is commendable. And today we have someone special, Sarthak Bhansali, who's been wearing multiple hats with unparalleled grace. He's a practicing lawyer, a CA, public policy enthusiast, and also a RERA consultant. And with a clientele that looks like the who's who of the industry, Sarthak stands out not just because of his impressive credentials, but with his unique ability to simplify the most complex issues with that kind of quiet confidence and clarity. And Sarthak, we are very excited to have you. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
We'd love to know about your journey. But first of all, I want to just start with RERA. I have an idea about it, but would like to know more. Please tell us.
So RERA, it's an act. It's an act by the Parliament. Okay. And in 2016, it was passed by the Parliament. And RERA basically deals with the real estate sector. It regulates it. Also, it brings in an authority established under the Act, which is the RERA. Every state will have a real estate regulatory authority.
Har state ka alag alag.
Every state will have a different one. And then it also brings in a redressal mechanism. So if you have a complaint as a homeowner, you can go to the authority and ask for certain reliefs from the authority. And the main objective or the aim of the act is basically to bring in transparency into the real estate sector.
This was the main, to bring in transparency.
Right.
इसको करने की ज़रूरत क्यों पड़ी? Why?
So the main reason of introducing RERA is the real estate sector it's a large sector. It employs lots of people. It also has a huge contribution to the GDP, and it was completely unregulated. And typically in the northern part of India, say UP, typically Noida or Gurgaon, there were a lot of stalled projects in the past. There still are, but some kind of regulation or some type of mechanism was required to regulate those projects, so that people who have invested their life saving into purchasing a home, they have some kind of relief other than going to the courts.
Right.
So hence, introduction of some act which could regulate the real estate sector was required.
So basically, लोगों को बहुत दिक्कत होती थी, इसलिए लोग गवर्नमेंट के पास जाने लगे, complaints करने लगे. Were there many cases in the court regarding real estate? और इसलिए गवर्नमेंट ने सोचा that let's do this. और I'm sure builder association तो नहीं गया होगा बोलने.
नहीं, so a lot of home buyers, because the project was stalled, they had invested huge sums of money and delivery नहीं हो पा रहा था of those units. So such cases usually went to either civil courts or consumer forums, and which took a large time. So it took from 1 to 10 years. So it was stuck with paying crores of money to a developer, and it does not translate to you getting a home. Then 10 years of your life are gone.
So hard-earned money, people have put their life saving or whatever.
Right.
So, RERA is a great act, but it seems as if it's a great act for the buyers and very daunting for the developers. What do you think? Tell us about the developer side.
So, the act was preliminarily introduced for protection of the home buyer.
Okay.
So that was one of the, so it's written in the preamble itself. It is for the protection of the consumers. But there's one critical and key aspect of RERA. So the act is called Real Estate Regulation and Development Act. So it does not only regulate the developers, it also helps in development of the real estate sector as a whole. So not only regulation, but for the developers, it also assists them to develop. So you'll see a lot of, over the past 7 years since RERA was introduced, the real estate market as a whole and the developers, the key players in that, have changed a lot. Not only in terms of being regulated, but also in terms of development of the overall industry.
तो उनको फायदा हो रहा है, रेरा से डेवलपर्स को फायदा हो रहा है, बायर्स को तो पक्का हो रहा है.
So what happens is there is no direct faida in that sense. That what happens is the overall industry becomes a lot more transparent, and because of those transparency, the investor confidence goes up. So today, if I would have back in 2015 or 14, if I wanted to invest at some place, मैं सोचता I would find out how the developer is, are the documents in place, are the approvals there or not. So I don't know all of those things. So विश्वास पे काम चलता था. Now everything is transparent. As soon as RERA has given the registration to a project, I'm sure all the land documents are proper, all the approvals are there, all the NOCs are available. So then I can simply go and invest in a project.
एक आम इंसान को एक भरोसा है कि हमारे साथ कोई है. Basically ये एक RERA है.
And on top of that, they know that all the documents which might not be able to understand, these are technical documents. RERA specializes in those documents. So what happens is those documents are verified, vetted, and only then approvals are given.
Right.
So as a consumer, I can simply rely on RERA rather than going to an advocate or trying to understand those documents.
Yes. सार्थक, ये जब लॉ आया तो पैन इंडिया आया, ठीक है? तो क्या सिचुएशन ऑलमोस्ट सारे स्टेट्स में सेम थी, अलग अलग थी?
नहीं, the issue which we talked about, why RERA came in, it was more of in the northern states, particularly UP and Haryana. In Gujarat, the situation was much better. So developers here are mostly already were compliant with the core principles of RERA. So it is not that there was much transition in what they were already practicing. So for Gujarat, the situation was not as bad.
It's so nice to hear, no? Because all of us are here from here. Yeah. So lovely. And I also wanted to know, what are the core principles, core tenets of the RERA law?
In the RERA law, there are basically two principles which needs to be followed. There are certain restrictions on the promoter, and there are certain things that the developer needs to follow. So the principles, if I list them down, they are basically no sales prior to registration with the authority. So you need to register a project, only then you can market, advertise or sell.
Okay, for a developer.
For a project per se. The second core principle is it brings a lot of transparency. So all the documents that were not available previously to any home buyer, he can go simply log on to the RERA website, search the project and get all the relevant information from the RERA. It's an authenticated page. So all authenticated information is available on the website.
So अगर मैंने कोई फ्लैट लिया है तो मैं उसका नाम सर्च करके वेबसाइट से ही पूरा ढूंढ सकती हूँ.
Even before buying the flat.
Even before the buying.
So you can, before investing or before giving your money, your hard-earned money, you can actually go and check everything, whether it's in place or not.
Okay.
And once you have booked it, you can also look at the progress.
Acha.
So every 3 months, every quarterly, the developers need to update the progress of the project.
Okay.
Also those things you can check. So a lot of transparency has been brought in. Other than that, there are certain features. So fund management or fund utilization is one feature, wherein the developer is required to deposit 70% of the amounts collected from those allottees into a separate bank account. And that can be withdrawn only when it is used for the project.
अच्छा, मतलब यहाँ का पैसा कहीं और नहीं डाल सकते.
Exactly. So you cannot take money for a project A and use it for project B.
Wow.
So the money which is collected for a particular project needs to be used in that project only, which ensures completion of the project.
Right.
The next fundamental principle is that timely delivery.
Yes.
So that was a issue across India probably, that the developer would say, I'll give it to you in this Diwali. Probably the delivery would happen next Holi or next Diwali.
Yes.
So now there's a date. Simply states it's an affidavit which you give to the authority. I will complete this project by 31st December 2027. So now the developer, the authority and the allottee, everyone knows that the project has to be completed before this. So now there is some accountability with respect to timely delivery of the project. Another key feature is litigation. So the consumers, the developers, all of them have a separate redressal forum.
What is that?
So earlier, if there is a complaint, if I need to file as a home buyer, I need to file a complaint against the developer. So I had to go to the civil court or the consumer forum. Now there is a separate redressal mechanism within the authority itself, where there are judges who will look at your complaint, look at the facts and provide a judgment. And that has the legal standing. So RERA authority, if it passes a judgment, can be appealed in the appellate tribunal and then directly to the High Court.
Acha. I wanted to ask one thing. If I have a complaint, should I go online through the website, or are there like a group of people that I need to connect with?
No, so you can file a complaint online also, and it's an offline process. You can go to the RERA authority at Gandhinagar.
Okay, every
Gujarat.
State.
Every state will have a different office.
Okay.
So for Maharashtra it might be different. For Gujarat it is Gandhinagar. So you go to the authority, you can file a form there also, pay 1,000 rupees and file a complaint. And similarly, you can do it online as well.
Okay.
On the website of the authority.
And the action would be taken. Or the action, I assume, would be quicker than the previous ones.
Typically, a litigation in RERA lasts from anywhere between 4 months to 12 months.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is much better than going to a civil court.
Absolutely, which is never ending.
Yeah, so it takes much more time.
Yes.
So there are other key principles as well, such as if a developer wants to change a project or change anything in a project, it needs consent of the allottees.
Allottees would be?
The people who have booked the units.
Okay.
So if say 10 units are already booked and the project was of a 4 BHK luxurious apartment, now the developer feels that it's better doing a 3 BHK. So the consent of those 10 allottees is required. So 2/3 consent at least is required for alteration or change in the project. So now the allottees, the home buyer also has a say in case anything changes in a project. So that is one good key feature. Another thing is registration of agreements. So we might enter into a purchasing agreement today, and the delivery of that home might happen after 3 years. So I and the developer might forget कि agree क्या किया था उस point of time. It's important to jot down and key down all the details of our agreement, the purchase agreement that you've done. Now that document is required to be registered, and the onus is put on the promoter. The promoter cannot collect more than 10% without first registering the agreement to sell.
The 10% of the main amount 10%. Without. Sarthak, is this the same registration जो बोलते हैं ना कि registration करना है खरीदने के time जो registration करते हैं, this one is the same?
So sale deed registration was required earlier also. This is now RERA has asked even the agreement you need to register. So before 2016 registration was not essential.
Acha.
So now this has become a registered document which is publicly available. So there cannot be, even if there is some dispute, so you can go back to the agreement, look at what is agreed upon, and then you can amicably settle. So because of this registration, the document strength increases in that way. Even the courts will take cognizance of that. And hence, the kind of litigation that used to happen earlier have gone down. Earlier people used to say, "Nahi, maine sign hi nahi kiya. I did not agree to this." So all of those things are now out of the picture because it's a registered document.
Which needs your signature, the allottees.
It needs your signature, the developer's signature, and it goes to the registrar's office, gets registered. So now even the government is a party to it.
Acha.
You pay stamp duty, registration fees, and get it registered.
And who does that? All the developer side or the?
So the developer usually hires an advocate who does the registration process.
Or if there is broker involved, then he does.
No,
it's always
typically
there. Okay.
Yeah. Another key feature is 5-year defect liability period has been provided.
5-year?
Defect liability period.
Defect liability.
So in case there is some structural defect in the building or in your unit, you can file a complaint with the authority and the developer needs to get it repaired within 30 days at his own cost. So 5 years the home buyer is protected.
रहने के बाद मैं आ गई हूँ रहने और उसके बाद 5 साल.
So this is from the date of possession.
Right.
So it starts from the date of possession and ends till 5 years. So what has happened as a result is the quality of construction overall has improved. Because now the developer knows that even after handing over the position, I need to ensure that 5 years there are no issues. So overall, the industry has benefit from this.
Wow. So I also wanted to know, Sarthak, what are the primary responsibilities and the services offered by the RERA consultant?
So primarily our job is to ensure that the clients are on the right side of law.
Okay.
So we look at how the project needs to be structured.
Your clients would be also the buyers and the developers?
No, so the project needs to be registered. So typically our clients would be real estate developers.
Developers, got it.
Only in cases of litigation, there might be some cases where we represent the allottees as well.
Got it, right. Otherwise there's no need.
Yeah. Otherwise it's mostly developers. So our job basically is to ensure that they comply with the law. So we provide them advisory services and how to structure the project in a way that all of the compliances are met. So I told you about registration of agreement. So as soon as 10% amount is collected, we ensure that the message is conveyed to the management and now you need to stop taking money, get the agreement registered and only then take the other half. So all of those part to ensure compliance of the act is primarily the responsibility of a RERA consultant.
Tell me one question, the 10% of what? Like the overall?
Full consideration value.
Suppose there are 100 flats.
Right.
Uska pura 10%.
No, so this is for each allottee. So if I book an apartment of say 1 crore, I need to pay 10 lakh rupees to the developer. Then the developer cannot take more money before registering.
Got it. Right.
So 10% of the each apartment.
Got it.
Other than advisory and consulting services, RERA consultant typically assists in registration of the projects, putting up the file to the authority. Then there are quarterly compliances. So every quarter an update needs to be given to the authority with respect to completion of the project, construction progress, how much bookings are there. All of those details are submitted.
So that the consultant gives on behalf of the developer to the RERA authority.
So the consultant assists the developer in providing such details to the authority.
Got it.
And if there are any litigations, then there are certain agreements which need to be drafted. There are certain communications which need to go to the home buyers. So all of those typically a consultant will look after.
Right. You know, Sarthak, when RERA was introduced, there were a lot of reservations and a lot of confusion from the builder's side as well. How did the process become smooth?
So this was the first time a regulation was being imposed on the developers.
Yes.
So naturally there was some confusion with respect to what is going to happen. So it was rather than the act itself, it was more of aage kya hoga. That I cannot use the word fears. That confusion was there of how things are going to pan out.
It was new, so everything was unknown, right?
Right. So what happened is initially there was a lot of hand holding. So CREDI stepped in, REDCO stepped in.
What are these institutes?
So these are all developer associations.
Oh, these are developers associations.
Right. So they handheld the promoters. Typically the ones in smaller centers who are not doing as much projects, who don't have large teams to support them in terms of compliance. So a lot of handholding happened, and I will also commend the authority. The authorities also assisted a lot. So
the RERA authority.
So they also handled the developers. They did not, they were not extremely strict with respect to certain aspects of compliances and registration processes. So they were all pretty comforting to the developers also. Submit the documents, let us scrutinize. If there are certain mistakes, we will get back to you. So that was the entire approach of the authorities, which eased down the entire compliance burden as well. And then once things were in place, once the chips had fallen where they had to, then the authorities started implementing more and more provisions of the act.
Nice. So that was a very interesting hand-holding by the authorities to get all the parties together. Very nice. अगर किसी को RERA consultant बनना है, if that person wants to take it as a profession, उसे क्या करना होगा?
has to read the act, then reread the act, and keep on reading the act.
अच्छा, कोई exam कुछ नहीं है?
No. So he just needs knowledge.
अच्छा.
So it's a very short act, 92 provisions. That is it. And since like people like us who had been in this from the beginning, there were no jurisprudence, so there were no judgments of the Supreme Court, High Court. Even now, there are only 7 years of jurisprudence. So it's very easy to enter into this because you have a short summary of what you need to understand and learn.
Right. So generally, जो लोग real estate consultants हैं, वो लोग real estate brokers हैं, वही लोग RERA consultants बन रहे हैं?
नहीं, not at all.
ऐसा नहीं है.
So RERA consultants, so there is no category as such.
अच्छा.
An engineer also becomes a RERA consultant.
Okay.
An architect also becomes a RERA consultant. A chartered accountant also becomes a RERA consultant.
Even if, what is the usual practice? जो लोग real estate के साथ associated है, वही ज़्यादातर लेते होंगे ना? But okay.
Who understand the law? Anyone who understands the law can become a consultant. So it's consultancy is nothing but advising the developer. So
is it lucrative enough to take it as a profession?
Yes.
It is? Okay. Sarthak, you've been a chartered accountant, a lawyer. How did you become a RERA consultant?
So it's interesting because I was employed with L&T Construction for 3.5 years. Then I quit my job and started practice. And right about that time, RERA was introduced. So my background was in real estate. Of course, my father is into real estate. So it came naturally to me. And the interesting part is that I was one of the first consultants to enter into this practice. So even before the RERA authority had an office, they had an office in one of the complexes in Housing Board where there were no desks, there were no chairs, nothing at all. And there were only 3 people transferred from another department to this department. And I went there and I asked.
ये वो government वो क्या कर रहे थे? Government authorities से आए थे और यहाँ पे उनको.
Yeah, so they just got transferred. They just come in, and I went to that office space because I came to know this is the office that has been allotted to the authority. And I went there, and in fact, those people are still there with the authority.
Okay.
So I asked them, sir, what to do? So they had a copy of the act, and they were like, आप भी ये पढ़ो, हम भी यही पढ़ रहे हैं. So,
आपको तभी सूझा था कि I can be, या आप ऐसे ही गए थे because you were curious कि आपको इतना idea था कि developers might need experts as consultants, तो तभी लगा था ऐसे?
Yeah, because this act, in any act when it is introduced, right about that time even GST was introduced. So for me it was either going into GST or going to RERA. And RERA being associated with real estate because of my interest.
Yes.
So I felt that this is the right choice for me, and I eventually entered into this field.
Right. You are in this industry since 2017, almost when it started. Okay. Over the years, how has it impacted the real estate industry?
So it has changed the industry in a lot of ways. So if you talk about fund requirements, funding, earlier there was no restriction on sales till you get all the papers in order. So developers used to start selling as soon as the land acquisition happened. So in terms of fund management, a lot of fund used to get taken from allottees via booking. Then land payments would happen, approvals would get sorted out, and then the construction would start. What RERA has done is you acquire the land or get the development rights, get your approvals in order, then you come to us, get the project registered, only then you can start selling. So the funding has entirely changed. So nowadays a lot of structured funding is happening, which has changed the dynamics of the industry as well, in terms of planning as well. So GDCR and basically the Town Planning Act, the GDCR, all of
GDCR का full form
is it's a comprehensive development regulation. It's specific. So GDCR is specific for Gujarat. Every state will have its own set of rules. It's like a building code. How do you construct a project? What are the norms with respect to construction of the project? So those are all taken care of the planning authority. So now what has happened because of RERA, whatever you're planning, you should promise, and that is what you should deliver. So there are 3 parts to it. Whatever you're planning, that is in your approved plans, whatever you're promising as per your brochure, and what you're actually delivering. All of these 3 have to be in line. If there is some issue in these 3, say you're promising that you'll give a gym and it is not passed in the plans, and you don't end up giving it, then there can be a complaint against you in the RERA.
तो ये जो process रहा इतने सालों में, so do you think it's become smoother and smoother?
Yes. So everything is now, because of RERA, everything has streamlined. The processes have streamlined. So earlier, in the start, there had been some issues with registration, certain issues with the IT infrastructure and all. Now, in the past at least 4-5 years, those processes have been streamlined, and it's a part of the regular compliances that the developer needs to do.
I have a question. Because of this compliance, do you think like पहले किसी को भी अगर डेवलपर बनना है तो वो आ जाता था इंडस्ट्री में, पर अब इट एक्ट्स लाइक अ डेटरेंस, और जो लोग सही में या तो बड़े हैं या इफ दे आर सीरियस इनफ टू डू दिस, वही लोग आते हैं. Has it been the case?
So yes, consolidation we have seen over the years. In fact, the project sizes have also increased. So typically a project when we started off in 2017 would range from anywhere between 40 to 80 crores. That was the average ticket size of the project. Now you look at the projects, they are around 100-150 crores of project. So the size of projects have increased. Of course, because the size has increased, the capital requirement has increased. So you will see a lot of developers join hands also, and you will see a lot of developers who are non-serious actors exit the business. Who are not doing this on a full-time basis. So they might exit the business and or convert into a full-time practice, full-time business kind of thing.
सार्थक, एक आम इंसान जब घर लेता है तो रेरा के एक्ट के अंदर वो क्या-क्या चीजों को लेकर बिल्कुल अश्योर्ड हो सकता है?
So the main advantage to a home buyer is basically every document is now available at a single place on the RERA portal.
Okay.
So you simply log on to the website, search your project, और आपको जो document चाहिए, right from land documents, approvals of the plans, your fire NOCs, lift NOCs, all of those NOCs are also available at a single place. Earlier, home buyer को अगर पता करना है if there is a fire NOC available or not, it was difficult. वो department में जाके लेना. Now everything is available at a single place, all relevant document and information. Additionally, what has happened is post 2017, every project, all of these details are available.
Right.
So now you think of 10 years ahead, when you want to resell this apartment, any project which was prior to 2016, अगर आपका उसको कोई document निकालना है, say just the BU permission or OC or CC, if you want to get those documents, either you have to find someone in your society who has those documents, or you find the builder, and you might have purchased this from some other person, you don't even know who the builder is. So document कहाँ से लाए? So now post 2017, all of those documents are available on the website.
Wow, becomes much smooth.
So after 10 years, when you eventually want to sell out your apartment, the new purchaser will also have access to all of those documents.
Right.
So it's very easy for everyone to now transact, sell, and even purchase.
Got it. Paperwork is absolutely taken care of. A while ago, we were talking about how the super build up and carpet, and it gives a very clear direction to the buyer. Tell us about it a bit more.
So prior to RERA, there was no carpet area concept was there from the start.
Yes.
From the beginning of the real estate industry, but there was no definition given to it. What RERA Act did was it gave a definition. Within the external walls, whatever area is available, it is the carpet area.
Right.
So now there is standardization in the industry. So carpet area for a particular project will be same in this project also and the other project also. So you can compare an apple to an apple.
Right.
Earlier, the concept of super built up or sales, certain area were loaded on top of built up or carpet area, and then that is how super built up was arrived at, and that depended on every project individually. So a developer might say there's a loading of 45%, another developer would say 55%.
Right.
So as a buyer, you wouldn't know what are you paying for.
Yeah.
So now, as soon as I say the carpet area is 50 square meters, I know what I'm getting. So that has brought a lot of transparency. And now you can actually compare two projects very easily.
And so wall to wall would be the carpet. Where is the wall covered? Is it super build up or it's the carpet?
No, so
the wall area.
So the external walls, all area within the external walls is carpet area.
Right.
So if there is an internal partition wall, so that is part of the carpet area.
Right, internal partition wall. And rest everything from your passages to your swimming pool to the clubhouse to the garden.
Right.
Everything comes under super build up. So the bigger the society, your loading would be much more right? For a layman. Right.
So super built up as a concept is now being phased out.
Really?
Yeah. So even CREDAI has taken a lot of steps, and now they are trying that the super built up concept itself goes away.
Why so?
Because there is no standardization. There's no, so project A would have some super built up area and project B would have another percentage of loading.
Right.
So to bring the industry at the same standardized level, they're wanting and they're trying that the super built up area concept goes away, and they are pushing towards RERA area, which is carpet area as per the RERA Act.
Yes.
Additionally, balcony and wash area.
That is covered, it also involves some complexities wherein you will be charged 50% of the super build up. It's not like that. So it's also under carpet, your balcony and the washing area.
No. So RERA, what carpet area defined under RERA is again external walls. Within that, whatever area is there is carpet area. It excludes the balconies and wash area.
Okay.
So when the developer wants to sell an apartment to you, it will say that the area is say 100 square meters carpet, additionally 15 square meters for balcony, additionally 5 square meters for a wash area.
Right.
So that is how the entire document would be created. So if you add all of these, this becomes the RERA area as they are calling it. So which is carpet area plus balconies plus wash area. And this area is exclusive for the use of the home buyer only.
Right.
So
that's all the RERA.
That is what you're actually paying for.
Right.
Exclusive use of the apartment.
Got it. And lastly, I wanted to ask, what will be the impact of RERA for the future of real estate?
So I feel the future is very bright in the sense RERA is going to bring a lot of transparency into the sector, and a lot of processes are now being streamlined, like carpet area as we talked about. Now what happens is, I'll give you an example. In 1990s, if you wanted to purchase a stock, so there was a system to it. And when SEBI got into the act and they started regulating the stock market, today when you want to invest into a stock, you simply open your app and pay the money, and the next day the stock is in your account. So it's that easy. If RERA continues to bring in transparency into the real estate sector, the same probably 10 years, 15 years down the line, you might be in any part of the world. You can simply log on to the website, look at the details of the project and say, I want to purchase apartment A801 in this project, pay the money and get the apartment booked.
Oh wow.
So that is how it might progress.
And I'm sure with the technologies, with the 3Ds, I'm sure you can get the feel of the place, right? With the AR, VR, of course, you can get the experience of the place, even if you're not in the same city.
So in terms of sales, you might integrate technologies such as AR, VR,
right?
So that the customer knows what he's getting.
Yes, which is already there, but
In terms of documentation and surety that your money is safe, RERA is going to provide those assurances.
Is RERA trying to become better and better in terms of their deliverables?
Yes, so the authorities are trying to be more transparent. Every year there are major updates. So from 2017 till 2024, we are at the end of 2024. And every year there has been changes in the systems, in the portals, in the reporting structures. In Gujarat particularly, now we have a RERA 2.0 portal which itself says there's a progress from the earlier 1.0 system to the 2.0 system. So, of course, as the market matures more and more and the developers are more comfortable with the compliances that need to be done, the authorities also trying to be more transparent, bring in more transparency for all the stakeholders. So be it banks, be it home buyers, or be it other stakeholders in the real estate industry. Every information is now more transparent and clear. You can go to the website and get those details.
Yes. Sarthak, the whole conversation was very insightful, and it is just allowing me to go deeper and deeper. And after your conversation, in fact, I would like to know more about RERA. I'd like to study more about RERA, and our country, the government, the authorities are doing so much for people. I'm sure it is also the responsibility of people to understand the whole concept, to study the whole concept, and to take it into practice. And thank you so much for this enlightening session and for taking us through the journey.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure. And if there's anything you want to understand about RERA, of course you can ask anytime.
Thank you so much for showing that kind of help. Thank you.